Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I am Deneen and this is Design by Deneen. Today I am participating in a Glam Pumpkin or a Glampkin challenge with my friend Vanessa from Barefoot and Crafting. If you don't already know Vanessa, you should definitely go and check her out. I have linked to her channel in the description box below, as well as to her Glampkin video. And I'm also linking to Vanessa's Instagram channel. She is very active on Instagram. The Dollar Tree styrofoam pumpkins have a really good round shape, but their stems leave a lot to be desired. So I'm going to use some air dry clay, and I have to give a shout out to J Money DIY because I got this idea from her. It's really easy to make a stem. You just grab yourself a little chunk of clay and roll it into a cylinder shape that's a little bit fatter on one end. And then give it about 5 or 6 points on the bottom where it attaches to the pumpkin. I like to set it onto the pumpkin before I let it dry so it gets the proper shape, so that when I have to glue it onto the pumpkin later, it's going to fit properly. I tried a couple different things, including some of my Cricut tools, but I actually found that just a plain old pencil worked best for making the lines in the stem. As I mentioned, you want to put it on the pumpkin to dry, and then the part that makes it the best, in my opinion, is to give it that little bit of a twist so it looks like it came straight out of the pumpkin patch. This clay takes about 2 days to dry completely, so you can either leave your stem on your pumpkin, or once you've got it in the right shape, you can take it off and set it aside to dry, and you don't want to paint it before it's completely dry. And you can tell when the clay is completely dry because it is hard to the touch. So the first thing I did with this pumpkin is to give it a coat of white paint, and the reason that I did that is because the product that I'm going to be using to Mod Podge on is black and white, and I don't want the white areas to show through as orange. So I'm just using white acrylic paint to give it a coat of white. For this pumpkin, I decided to do a Mod Podge application. I'm using these really cool baking cups that I picked up a while ago at Dollarama, and I wasn't sure what to do with them, and now I've found what I'm using them for. So the first one that I put on, I actually put on dry, and I would suggest that you don't do that. It's really much better if you wet them before putting them on. So you see, I do learn things. As you can see, my wrapper is soaking in a little bowl of water on the upper left. So first I give the area that I'm going to stick it on a decent coat of Mod Podge. Then I take my wet wrapper and I lay it in place, being careful to push it down into all the crevices. And then give it another coat of Mod Podge on top of that. I gave the stem a coat of Rust-Oleum Silver Metallics. Since the stem was dried on top of the pumpkin, it should fit nicely, though it might take you a little bit of trial and error to find the correct placement on top of the pumpkin. Once you've got it in its correct spot, just attach it down using hot glue. However, this pumpkin is still not glam enough, so I'm going to add a little bit of bling. I just cut single rows of this non-adhesive bling wrap, and using hot glue I applied a strand down the indented portion of the pumpkin ribs all the way around. I picked up this pumpkin last year at Walmart. I gave it a coat of silver Rust-Oleum paint. One of the things I like about these pumpkins is that they're plastic, so they take well to spray paint, whereas the styrofoam pumpkins don't really. I'm going to be using glitter on this pumpkin, so I chose to use pink for this application. Get your hot glue gun all warmed up and ready to go. So all I did with this pumpkin was to draw squiggly designs on the pumpkin using the hot glue gun, and then shake a little bit of glitter onto it while the glue is still hot. So you want to make sure you don't wait too long because the hot glue dries fairly quickly, so just do small sections at a time. And you're going to want to have a fresh, clean piece of paper underneath to catch all the glitter that gets shaken off, so that you can put it back into your glitter bottle when you're done. So once you're all done and you've shaken off all that excess glitter onto your paper below, you're going to fold your paper in half, you're going to get your glitter bottle, and you're going to pour that glitter back into the bottle as much as possible. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up and please hit that subscribe button. So I wanted to show you another color combination that I thought worked really nicely. So this is just a gold painted pumpkin, and I've matched it up with some orange glitter. Two of my favorite shapes for making the patterns are just this like decorative S shape. And I also like to do just basically a squiggly back and forth line to make a nice pattern. So this is another Dollar Tree pumpkin. I gave it a coat of Rust-Oleum Metallics Gold and it came out pretty well, but it actually had a couple coats of acrylic paint on it first, so that helps. For this pumpkin, I did gold on gold. I used these really pretty gold adhesive rhinestone stickers, which I'm pretty sure I picked up at Dollarama. Since it only required 1/2 of a piece to do the side of the pumpkin, I split them in half so that they were even before sticking them on. My original intention was to run them down between the ribs of the pumpkin in the crease. However, because the pumpkins are not totally even, I decided to just eyeball it and make sure that they went on looking fairly even. This one is also a Dollar Tree styrofoam pumpkin, and I painted this with 2 coats of paint. The first coat is Folk Art Metallic in Pearl White. The second coat was Deco Art Enchanted in Magenta, which is an iridescent top coat. So I decided to do something different with the top of this pumpkin. So I took a piece of just A4 letter paper and I folded it in half, and then I folded it in half again, so into quarters, and then I folded it one more time so that it came to a point, and then I cut the pointed section off, and then I cut a V-shaped notch into the bottom. And then when you unwrap it, you get an 8-pointed star shape. I used a sewing pin to mark the center of the pumpkin and make sure that it was properly centered. And then I just used a pencil to trace all the way around it. I'm going to be using this sheet of, it's a mixture of rhinestones and pearls. I used just the rhinestones, and you just kind of can bend them because they're adhesive to cover the star shape that I just made with my pencil. Next, I used the adhesive pearls, and I ran a line down from the points of my rhinestone star down to the bottom of the pumpkin. So on every point, I ran a line of pearls. So these gems I had kicking around in my craft stash, left over from another project, and they are part rhinestone and part pearl, so they work well with what I've got going on so far. And I ran a line of them down in between the pearls on every second section. So instead of 8 of these sections, there's 4. So my air dry clay stem is all dry and painted in Rust-Oleum Silver Metallic, and now I'm going to glue it down with hot glue to the top of the pumpkin. So I'm using another trim to fill in those remaining spaces between the pearls, and this one I got from Dollarama. It's It's quite thick, it's really pretty and silver, and I'm going to run 4 rows of that in the remaining spaces. I took these rhinestones and I added in a line of rhinestones between every section where there was pearls. So I'm adding in rhinestones on each side of the ones on either side of the pearls. So here's what it looks like when it's all done. So here's another Dollar Tree styrofoam pumpkin, and I have coated this one with a coat of black acrylic craft paint to start. And next it's going to get a coat of Dazzling Metallics by Deco Art in Berry. This was the first time I've used this paint. I picked it up at Michael's on the weekend and I absolutely love the coverage. It's super opaque and it goes on really smooth and nice. These adhesive jewel stickers are from Dollar Tree and they're so pretty. I was originally going to wrap both of them around the pumpkin, but I figured it would be really hard to keep them straight because of the sloping nature of the sides of the pumpkin. So instead I opted to just go with one strip around the center of the pumpkin. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to keep mine perfectly straight, so you can kind of see it if you twirl the pumpkin around, but not really a big deal. Just try to keep yours straight if you can. These bridal gems are from the wedding section at the Dollar Tree. If you've not used these bridal gems before, they're a little bit different than a lot of the stickers in that they are not one solid piece. So you have to be a bit careful when working with them because they tend to want to either stick to themselves or to like come apart. So take your time when working with these. The package contained 4 of what I would call the swirly pieces. There's 2 separate patterns. So I just applied them the same patterns on opposites and did them in quarters. The set of adhesive gems also comes with 4 little wedding rings, and so I took those and I placed them in the 4 openings left by the other gems. Next, I added some adhesive rhinestones to the top of the pumpkin. And then I used a slightly smaller rhinestone and I put one underneath the larger ones that were on the top level, so there was another level of rhinestones all the way around. And then I took some of the adhesive rhinestones that come in a single strip and I used them to basically draw out the circle on the top of the pumpkin. And then I also placed a rhinestone inside of the pearl circle of the rings. So I have this pack of rhinestones and it comes in 3 sizes, so it graduates up or down in size, which is kind of cool. I used these on the bottom section of the pumpkin, and I did like larger to smaller, going from the center to the bottom. My original plan was to do a row down the center of each rib, the outward section of the ribs. However, because the pumpkin's not totally symmetrical, you kind of have to eyeball it a little bit. Next, I took these adhesive pearls. So these are really cool. These are from Walmart. I used these on my Easter eggs when I made them. And they're half pearls and they're adhesive. They're very cool to work with, and they come in multiple sizes. I applied these over top of what I called the swirly pieces from the bridal embellishments. I put 2 over top, 1 on each side, and for a total of 8 for the whole pumpkin. And getting back to my plan of bedazzling everything to pieces, I also added in another rhinestone underneath the rings. And then I added more rhinestones underneath all of what I was calling the swirly pieces. And because I'm just a blingy kind of a girl, I also added more rhinestones on either side of the swirly bridal designs. Consider yourself bedazzled.